Welcome to My American Dream, a monthly program of Finlandia Foundation National. During this program series, we are interviewing Finnish entrepreneurs who have come to the U.S. chasing their American dream. Finlandia Foundation is a nonprofit philanthropic organization that was established in Pasadena, California in 1953 for the purpose of supporting and celebrating Finnish-American heritage while maintaining ties to contemporary Finland. A major source of private funding for Finnish and Finnish-American cultural activities, Finlandia Foundation awards grants and scholarships and sponsors a variety of programs, from concerts to book talks to webinars and online presentations like My American Dream. To finance the production of its programming, Finlandia Foundation relies on private donations. Please visit our website to find out how you can help.
Hi, welcome to this Finlandia Foundation production called My American Dream. My name is Michel Wendell. I'm your host, and I'm happy to introduce as our first guest, Mr. Ari Tulla. Ari, welcome to the program. You're the first guest that we have. To start off with here, could you tell me or us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for starting this new, I hope to be a great podcast for years to come. Honored to be the first guest you invited for this. And so let me talk a bit about my background and how do I came from Finland to the US. About 12 years ago, I think 2008, I was working at Nokia, as many of us Finns did at the time. And I got the chance to go and build a new team in a new country, and I had option to go to different places. We were talking about London, we were talking about Singapore, Vancouver, Canada, New York, and then San Francisco Bay Area. And the team was about building a new game studio for Nokia to build first-party games and kind of pave the way for the mobile gaming before iPhone and others. And I really felt that Bay Area would be the best place to start this new venture within Nokia. And after 12 years being here, I think we made a good call. The Nokia business didn't really fly, but it was great to take my wife and myself then at the time and build a family here in the Bay Area. It's been quite a ride for the last 12 years.
Great. And you, if I recall correctly, you originally come from Oulu, right?
Yeah, I'm a flat-footed person from Oulu. I was born there, lived the first 20 years of my life in Oulu and then nearby small town Kempele, and there are not that many people, but the impact for tech and the Finnish tech scene has been quite profound that happened in those northern places.
Absolutely, great. So now you have recently, actually very recently, launched your new company, and in the health space. And I'm sort of would be glad if you could share a little bit about how you made the leap from sort of marketing mobile games for Nokia into becoming sort of a food health entrepreneur that is trying to make the world better in that sense.
Yeah, it's been like I said, quite a ride, and I think the one thing that I'm really bad at is saying no to, and I think after saying yes a few thousand times too many, you end up in places that you would never expect to be. And so my goal and my initiation for the healthcare has really been on my own personal journey and story that started year 2000 when my girlfriend, my future wife, had a health condition that needed some operations and emergency. and that led us into a lot of different explorations in the healthcare world as patients and customers, and also as a focused on how do we use the food and different alternative means of living, like, you know, think about like optimizing your food, your sleep, your nutrition, and exercise to stay healthy. And we are still on that same journey 20 years later. And about 10 years ago, when I was at Nokia, and as many of us know, Nokia was kind of hit by surprise of the smartphone revolution, iPhone and Android namely, and Nokia was setting, you know, different themes and, you know, changing the way of operating. That was the time when me and my co-founder Tapio Tolvanen, we jumped off from Nokia and we started to think about what we want to do next. And it felt very natural for me to try to build a company around how do you help people discover healthcare? How do you help them to navigate better in the US? Because the US healthcare system is very complicated and vast, and it kind of gives you a lot of optionality, but it doesn't really hold your hand or help you and tell you what to do. You are always an underdog as a patient, as a customer of the healthcare system. So the beginning was that, can we build a system that would be a lot like Open Table for doctors? A system where you could go and find the right care, you could book online instead of making phone calls, and then just access the system more easily. And that was a company called Better Doctor that we started 2011. And we spent almost a decade in that, and we were able to build a pretty robust company in the end. We sold Better Doctor 2018 to a private equity firm, and then me and Tapio stayed in the company for another almost 2 years to kind of integrate it together with other companies and so forth. And but underlining kind of movement in my family and in my life has been the nutrition. And I'm a huge believer that yes, we can build a better healthcare system, we can build better drugs, we can have more doctors and so forth. But in the end, if you and me won't take responsibility of our own health, nothing will really help. It can't be an external mover or a body that is keeping us healthy. It has to be us as persons. And that really is what the new company ELO Health is all about. We are trying to build a system that is basically giving you an easy way to eat right and have the right nutrition in your life. It's a very confusing field, and I think most people are struggling with the weight, with the blood pressure. Chronic conditions like type 2 diabetes are so prevalent today that that world is in real trouble from those perspectives. That's a really like a quick summary of like how do you go from mobile games and mobile apps into healthcare. It's all tech, it's all data, but the underlying really driver for me has been my personal story and the experience I have had in the last 20 years.
Yeah, that's great, and that's of course how life takes us from one place to the next, whether it's geographical or whether it's in business, work, culture, what have you. So one thing based on what this whole program series is called, that I have to of course ask you, that did you ever have what sort of popularly is called an American dream? Did you ever have in your childhood, in your youth, this idea of that you have to move to this great country, you have to go and explore and do, and somehow get your name on the wall? Did you have that of a vision of your whole sort of coming here, or has things just sort of happened as you have gone?
I think two points on that. You live your life, and as I said already, I tend to live my life by saying yes to many things and try them and see what feels good and so forth. So I try to take risk. I try to be leaning forward, and sometimes you fail, sometimes you fall on your face, but often you end up in places that you would have never imagined that you end up in. So one story that I think is very interesting here. I was in Finland back at my parents' place a few years ago, and my mom she's very good at maybe hoarding or maybe good at collecting and keeping stuff intact. But she found this letter, and it was a letter that I wrote, I think at the beginning of high school, and it was a sealed letter. Nobody had opened the letter, and she had opened it, and sometime before, and then she gave it to me, and hey, you wrote this letter, I don't know, 30 years ago almost. And I read it, and it was really interesting. I can't paraphrase because I can't remember exactly how it went. It's a few years ago. But anyway, it basically told that you want to do these things, you want to build things, and you want to do A, B, and C. And I basically checked all the boxes, and I was like, I've done all of those things I wanted to do. And it had a point of living abroad and experiencing life outside of Finland and becoming kind of global dweller. And I was so happy that that was like when I was starting high school, what is then, like 15, 16 years old, and then reading it, and it made me feel whole in a sense. And yeah, I have no recollection that what I put in there. I didn't remember I had written the letter, so it didn't mean much at the time. But now when reading it later, it was a massive kind of like a feeling of empowerment in a way, because if you think about life, of course you want to have goals, and you want to achieve the goals, and then you want to set new goals. But that was a really nice moment. The other point that I think related to more to the US, I've been a big I played hockey for my youth, and I've been a big fan of NHL. But I have this knack that I had a long time ago. So I was in the US, I think 95 or 96, first time visiting with my parents. And we toured around the West, we toured around the country. And we were in San Francisco, for example. I remember the Golden Gate. I remember the Bay Area. I remember New York and Florida and other places we went to, Grand Canyon. But there was one thing that kind of stuck with me, and I had been a big fan of NHL. I followed Jari Kurri and Wayne Gretzky as a Tikkanen, and they were my idols. I was really lucky to be able to be in a hockey school with Jari Kurri a few times when I was a kid, and he was my idol. Also, of course, Ray Rotsain, who was Oulu, came from Kärpät, went to play in Edmonton, was a really big star. So I was following Edmonton as a kid. I had a pen pal. I was riding back and forth many years, and he was playing hockey for Edmonton. I was playing hockey for the teams in Oulu and Kempele. But the bottom line, what I got was, I started to follow these dynasties. So I was following Edmonton. I saw a lot of the games back in the days. It was hard to kind of see them at night in Finland. And then I got into basketball. So I saw Bulls playing and winning 4 or 5 championships. And then I went into NFL, and I was following 49ers for many years. And I Joey Montana and others, and who I followed, and it's been so rewarding that I was even connecting now with the Joey Montana, as he's an investor today. So I was able to connect with him and talk to him 20 years later. Cool. Before I was really looking up to him and as a big star. So I've been kind of living the US culture, and I've been a big fan since I was a kid. And a lot of my idols, a lot of the kind of the cultural imprints, they came from the US. As you're a kid from 90s, 80s, so that was what we were kind of looking at and following the popular culture. So I think I have had this sort of a dream to live in the US, and when we moved here, I knew what to expect. I had been here many times. I had a lot of friends already, but my wife had never been in the West Coast, only one time in the New York before we moved here, and that was really brave move from her, and she's maybe becoming more of a native Californian than I am. And it's a really interesting thing, like when you think about where you end up and where you stay. And in the last year, of course, last point on this topic, we have spent a lot of time. One of the main topics in our household has been, where do we want to live? I think we are in a luxurious position that we have been successful enough, from the business perspective, wealth perspective, we could go live wherever we want. We don't have to worry about that. I think we can work today wherever we want. And we have spent many hours thinking about, do we want to move, somewhere more into the nature? Do we want to move into Australia or back to Finland or even Portugal to Lisbon? And after a lot of debate and discussion, we decided to stay here, and we're going to be playing long game in the Bay Area, and many other people have moved out. I'm looking at you a little bit, but we feel that this is a great place for us. We are trying to raise our kids here, actually in the city. That is our call, and we can revisit in a couple of years, and see how it goes. But that's how we decided to do and spend our time in the future.
Great. That's the fact that we can revisit things, given that they're our own dreams, is very important. And obviously, as you alluded, I have revisited some of my dreams by after 25 years in the Bay Area, moved to Austin. But still, good to hear that you also, as so many others, have had this really dream and so forth, even if you probably lost sight of it for 30 years. But the fact that you as a kid wrote down something and you can read it as almost a journey log later on is really cool.
And there was a notification, by the way, today on Facebook. I mean, Facebook we can debate about, but one thing I like about it a lot is that if you post on Facebook and you get these reminders of what did you post a year ago, what did you do before, that is just a simply wonderful feature, I think. And today the notification was that a year ago today we became American citizens. So that's of course a big reminder, and that was an area we were procrastinating for 5 years. Are we going to do it? Are we not going to do it? And then we did it. And to be fair, I mean, I was sitting there with in Oakland, your previous home, and we had I don't know 2,000 people in the room together. What a way is that from today? We didn't know about COVID. We were living this life oblivious about this mess we are now. We have 3,000 people in one room, and there were 75 different nationalities, and you stand up on your turn, and there were 3 Finns in the audience, and I mean it felt pretty amazing. And I think I love this fact that we can be dual citizens, and I think then you're really becoming a citizen of the world in a way, because you don't need to hang one flag, but you can really be committed to both. And I think I just like that myself a lot.
Yeah, no, we have sat in the same hall. We procrastinated for 25 years before doing that, but same place and same great feeling. So Ari, just thinking about what you just said of being in this big hall with a few thousand people and 3 Finns and becoming American citizens brings up an interesting point of just the fact that we, of course, the US is such a melting pot, as we all know, multicultural, multilingual, multi this and that. But what or are there some things of sort of real Finnishness or things that are really Finnish features that you feel that you have leveraged or you have benefited from, or somehow has helped you along your path to go from start from Kempele and ending up raising big bucks for a very, very sort of progressive company in the hottest market in the world for that. I mean, you haven't just fallen into your position, but you have your own personality and your drivers and so forth, and of course your team. But are there some things that you could say that you think are really Finnish features that have helped you along the way?
Yeah, it's a great question. Before we kind of dive into that, I think it's good to kind of take a step back and say, what is nationality? What is culture? Who we are? I mean, it's really interesting when you kind of take the kind of fluff away and think about core ideas. It really is a lot about language is a really important factor. The things around language, like your songs and dances and the culture, the food that you eat. And then of course you have money that is very important. We in Finland, we lost that already 20 years ago, the euro. And there are not that many things that make up a culture. And then if you think about like, what is that then for the individual who was brought up in a world of that culture? Like, I think those are things I think a lot, and they are, I think, the ones that are molding you to be a product of that. So for me, I mean, it definitely has been a lot about the equality of being able to be on the same playing field of other people, and nobody really is above you. And that mindset, I think, has been a very strong driver for me, and I think a big part of the success. I don't look down at anyone. I don't look up at anyone. I look at people as equals. And I've been in rooms that many people are trying to get, and that are hard to get, with tens of venture capitalists, for example, in a room together, who possess 50 billion wealth in the world. And then I go there as an equal. I don't go there as a small-time entrepreneur when I meet them first time. And that's because I think one thing that made me in a way, and made all the Finns, the men especially, is the time that you spend in the army. We all went to army more or less, and we spent about a year time there. And what we do is really, it's not about holding the gun or giving commands, but it's really about sitting in a bunk bed and sleeping in a room where you have about 10 to 15 to 20 people that you never met before. You put in a room together, and you're gonna play with them, you're gonna hang out with them, you're gonna live with them for 6 months or more. And those people are kind of people that you will likely never meet in your life when you go forward, because there will be deviations. Many of them will be staying in the small town in Finland. They're never going to leave, but that time you're going to be all together, and that time you're going to start appreciating everybody. The guy who became a lorry driver, or the guy who became not the murderer, but became a criminal and ended up in prison. I know those people were in my room. And there was also other guy who became inventor of IRC, the IRC, the first incarnation of the communication on the web, first incarnation of Facebook. He invented that. So we were in the same room together for a long time, and that was really cool to have that moment. So that has really molded, I think, giving you the belief that we're all equal, and giving you ability to go to different places with courage and with self-confidence. And of course, I think the other point that I think we get from the mother's milk or from the dark winters is the grit, the sisu, and the courage. I named the new company ELO. I named the community sisu. I named the way we collect people together. It's all about sisu. It takes a lot of sisu, guts, grit, to change, for example, your health, change the trajectory of your diet and nutrition. It's very difficult to do. So that fact that you don't give up, you just pound away, you continue, go forward. Those are the two things: equality and then the grit that I think I have gotten, and that really made it for me. I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not the best looking guy. I'm not the most eloquent speaker.
Oh, close.
But maybe up there somewhere. But I drive hard, and I drive hard every day in a way that I make everybody to be part of it. I make people care about it. That's what I do every day, and I really think about a lot. Like how do we build a system that people can care about? Because I believe that if you get, as a company or as a community or whatever, you get a group of people together, and if they care, something great will happen. That is more important for me every time I hire people. Is this person going to care and be committed? Then is the person the smartest person in the room? I always hire the first.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Any other? I mean, there was clearly a couple of really important points in what you said, that a future entrepreneur or something should latch on to. Anything else that you would sort of tell a fellow Finn who is looking at starting up something, not necessarily a tech company or tech-based company as yourself, but somebody who wants to put up a coffee shop, or somebody who wants to start a studio, or whatever it is that they want to do here? Is there anything else that you would sort of tell a fellow Finn that, the do's or the don'ts in a case like that?
Yeah, I think the courage and this is important. The grit is important, but those mean nothing, zero, if you don't take the first step and just say to yourself, just do it. And you don't need to do it big time. You don't need to start from building the Starbucks. If you think about a coffee shop, you can start by catering to your local block and opening your garage door and doing something and testing it out. Nothing starts big, things start small, and before you maybe quit your day job and jump into it. Some people say that you need to just do it and burn the bridges behind you. Well, if you have a family and if you are the breadwinner, you don't do that. I mean, start small, get credibility, build the momentum in your mind first that you believe in this. If you don't believe in it, nobody will believe you. So I think sometimes I'm against these self-help books or the self-help to be entrepreneur books or self-help how to build a company books. I mean, they are a lot about how should you do it, but we all do it differently. Like I don't follow the lean startup method, or I don't follow these things always, because first of all, I've been in healthcare business for the last decade. This idea of fail fast forward or fail quickly. I mean, what is the company that basically started that hacker ethos? It is the Facebook. And they have basically destroyed the society, the discourse, the politics as we know it. And they probably have brainwashed half the people to do something that is a bit silly. So I'm a bit afraid that you can't always do it in those ways. But find your own way and do something small first to make yourself believe in something. And once you believe in it, something great will happen. But remember, you have to first start it. You can't procrastinate. Most people are thinking, I want to do something, and they never do it because they never start it. Just start it and talk to everybody about it. I mean, Mika, when I started this new company, we talked about this, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. I told you that I'm looking at the food. I've been looking at the nutrition and the food space for more than 20 years. And I've been talking to thousands of people in the last 10 years that I want to do something in that space. I talked to my previous company board of directors that, I'm going to do something in this space. They knew that I was looking around. And, there's no going back. I already told 1,000 people that, I want to do something. And then you would look like an idiot if you don't do it. So I just had to do it.
Good, and you're doing well. So one thing that I know that you don't really mention too much, and we who have been here for a long time, and certainly in the tech world, don't really look at sort of making mistakes or failing or something like that, because it's just part of the process for most of us. But of course, failure is a very it's a bad word, because failure in the sense that we talk about is really just a means of learning. And but I think myself that this whole sort of failing culture or making mistake culture in Finland is something that has been really a taboo, whereas in, for example, Silicon Valley, it's a necessity. How do you feel about that? I mean, is my assessment too strong, or what's your opinion?
No, you're spot on. I think this is one of the fundamental challenges I think we have. And it often, like I said already, what is the culture? What are the words? I always look at the words behind these things. In Finland, we say yrittäjä. That's basically a trialist. Do you want to be an entrepreneur or a trialist? I mean, it's just silly in a way that, we are talking about these people. They're trying a little bit something that will never go anywhere. That mindset, I think, is the key challenge of making Finns believe that they can do it. And of course, also the system is very important. That I think you've been talking for a long time. Taxation for the second income is a very key problem. Like if you have a 1 gig already, then you take another gig and you pay double the tax or whatever you do. that's a very challenging time. That if the thing you're really passionate about, you're going to pay more tax, and it doesn't really make sense to do that if you already have a fairly good paying job. Taking hours that you don't do 40-50 hours a week of something that you could take maybe 30 hours. Those are things that are not really manifested in Finland today. And of course, US, in good and bad, we have a system that it doesn't really have the supporting network. There's no safety net behind you if you don't have family. And in Finland, you have the safety net. So having the need to work is a good and a bad thing. And for what it comes to starting new things, new businesses, new ideas, it is a good thing, because it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you moving forward, and you have now ability to go to the gig economy. Anyone could basically stop doing what they do today and go to gig economy, make enough money that they can survive, and then they could do their own thing. Anyone could do that today, and it's not really possible in Finland today, I think.
No, that is true. So, looking again at things from a sort of Finnish perspective, and knowing that they're here in the US, we have hundreds of thousands of first and second generation or sort of people who have family that originated in Finland. And so it's a big number, given that Finland has less than 6 million people. But of course, in the US, it's a small number, and there are so many other sort of cultures or people from other countries that have a much bigger representation here than Finns. But how do you think, from your perspective and with your experience, how are Finns sort of viewed in the US, or does it really make any difference? I mean, that you come from Finland or somewhere else. How do you see that?
Yeah, I've been talking about this quite a few times, and to me, it is something of a bit of a novel thing. I'm the only tech entrepreneur in healthcare, together with Sami Inkinen probably, and my co-founder Tapio, who are from Finland, who've been playing this game.
Not bad company.
Yeah, but there are not that many other people, so it's been a kind of curiosity value. And often people are quite, educated, so they might have been in Nordics, they might know something about it. But to be fair, I mean, it's been a benefit of not having any stigma. I mean, there's been no opinion. It's like a clean canvas, blank slate that people don't really attach anything to. Even if you say Sweden, they will attach meatballs, kravlaks, and ABBA. Finland is like maybe sauna, maybe Santa, but we haven't really been that good at owning those either. So I think there is a lot we are proud about as Finns. I think we talk to our immediate community, and they will learn to appreciate the swear words and the sauna and some of the food products and stuff like that. But we haven't really been able to build this sort of a platform or identifier for us. I think we really should, as Finns, we should really spend a lot more effort on owning Santa Claus, owning the sauna, and I think we should build the food story that people could stick upon. And that's, of course, something that, you and me have been talking quite a while, and let's not promise anything here, but I want to do something in that, not only on ELO, but also in a Finnish sense, to bring the Finnish food to more people. But I think the sauna is maybe the one thing that I'm clinging on. And if I think about the COVID pandemic, we've been in this building for the last 11 months without really moving outside a whole lot. And I miss the most. Well, we go out, we hike a lot, we go surfing, we go cycling. So we are very active. But one thing I miss the most is I went to surfing. I have a surfing club in Pacifica here nearby that I go surfing once or twice a week, and there's a sauna in the backyard. I haven't been able to do that. I go to climbing gym maybe 3 to 4 times a week. I go to sauna at least once a week. So I went to sauna twice a week at least for the last 10 years. And now I haven't been able to go to sauna one time in 11 months. That's the biggest thing I'm missing. And thank God, we have a sauna coming to our backyard in about 5 days. So I'm like candy store. I haven't waited for a Christmas present this much since I was 10 years old.
Great. So, hey, last question for you. Given that you and your wife, you're both Finns, you come from Finland, you have strong ties there, you have two lovely small kids that are both born in the States, being, of course, Americanized by the environment slowly. But what are the things that you sort of really want to make a point to yourselves of in terms of heritage that you want to pass on to them? Things, be it value systems, food, whatever. What are the things that you think that is really important for these two young kids to have inside of them when they are grown-ups, to know that they're Finns and what advantages it might have?
That's a really great question, and that's been kind of, we were talking already about, we were looking around where to go, where do we want to live, and that was the driver of that decision. Like, can we build the childhood for our kids that we want them to have? And we had, me and my wife, we had a very wonderful childhood in a very safe environment in Finland. We have, we skied or walked to bike to school since we were 7 years old. We had a key when we were 8 or 7 years old to the house, and we played freely with the kids around. That is harder to do now in any metro area. But if I look at my daughter Mia is 2, my son Max is 6, going to first grade in the fall. They are as Finns as anyone you could find. We mainly read in Finnish. We only speak Finnish. My daughter speaks Finnish now, has no idea about English, can say bye and hello, but it's kind of completely mixed up when we go to park and people are talking in English, it's responding in Finnish. It's kind of odd. And my son speaks better Finnish than English still today, and he's been in school for some time already. So I think, if you take, and they look like very Finns as well. So if you take them and drop them in Helsinki or Oulu, I don't think people would even know that they have lived all their life in the US. So having 2 parents and who speak the same language is of course making it very easy. And that's why I say that the language is such a key component of this equation. And if you some people are worried, like, why don't you speak English then? I'm like, well, they pick up the English in 3 weeks when they go to school, and I mean it's not that difficult. But picking up Finland later will be completely impossible. And so we hope that they learn this appreciation that I said already, the equality and this sort of grit. And we have a cabin at Tahoe, the Finnish cabin that we go often, and we want to be in the snow, we want to be in the cold, we want to do stuff that is bringing the grit. It's tough to build the grit in California. It's pretty sunny, it's pretty warm, it's pretty nice. So we're trying to build those moments and live by the rules. But today it's so funny because I really mean it, that you could take the kids and you drop them wherever in Finland and nobody would notice difference.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Hey, this has been a really good little session, a very good start for our series. I really appreciate you taking the time and bringing out your insights, your experience and views and stuff like that on this very interesting topic. So I want to thank you very much, Ari. I hope to all the best to your business. I hope you really come up with the right solutions. I'm obviously one of the guinea pigs, so don't feed me anything bad. And to the rest of you out there, this is the first settlement for My American Dream. We will have a new segment every month. Check back to the finlandiafoundation.org website to catch the next one. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you all.